We got some great questions today. The main one is on making ship's biscuits and which kind of flour to use. Thanks for joining us today on Questions and Answers with James Townsend and Son. Our first question today comes from Neo Lexington. Is James Townsend and Son coming to the Kalamazoo event this year? Yes, we're going to be at the Kalamazoo, Michigan event. It is March 19th and 20th. It is a tremendous event with lots and lots of very high quality vendors and some great programming. So make sure if you are in the Michigan area, you're interested in living history at all, it's a great event. Make sure to come out to it and say hi to us. This question is from Scarlett Fleur. It's on the Baking Wigs episode, and it's actually a very good question. How is adding modern packaged yeast authentic baking? Yeast was gathered from nature, off fruit or grain crops. Well, yeast in 18th century English cooking was not really captured that way. Most of the leavening, the yeast leavening was done from yeast that they got from the brewer, a liquid yeast product. We don't have that available to us today. And so to most closely replicate that kind of baking, 18th century English baking that you'll find in cookbooks, the best way for us to do it, unless we're brewers, is to actually use packaged yeast and to make a substitute barm. And so that's what we did in that episode. You might find that kind of yeast collection she's talking about here, gathering yeast from nature, off fruit and crops, that tends to be in other cultures. And specifically more popular in continental Europe at the time. And even they weren't quite sure exactly what they were doing. They knew that this did a leavening effect, but they didn't actually know that it was yeast that was actually growing on the outside of these crops and grains. So it is a complicated topic, and it's something that we'll probably be delving into a little bit more in the future. Here's a great question from Obi-Wan, Kentucky, and it's on the donuts episode, which is very popular. How many calories would this type of donut have, being that the recipe has no artificial ingredients? They look so good. Well, let me tell you, if you're counting calories, don't eat these donuts because they're really, really good, and obviously they have probably a massive quantity of calories. But calories are just energy, and we all need energy, right? Here's the main question. This one's Drew 1653, and it's on the forced cabbage pudding that we just put up. But the question doesn't actually reference that specifically. Mr. Townsend, what type of flour should I use when making ship's biscuits? Should I use regular flour, unbleached flour, or wheat flour? That's a really good question, and there is not a one quick answer because ship's biscuits were more than one kind of thing in the 18th century. These were a condensed food product meant to be put on ships, and other travelers might use them, and they had to last a long time. But there were many different grades of ship's biscuits and different places that made ship's biscuits. So the kind of ship's biscuit that you would find, say, for the Royal Navy, well, those are going to be very high quality, made in mass production kind of a situation, and they used the best flour, the most refined, having no bran in it or anything else. So you would use a very good, say probably an unbleached flour for those ship's biscuits. But there were also less expensive versions of ship's biscuits, or in fact very inexpensive versions of ship's biscuits, and they would use lower qualities of flours like whole wheat flours that we might use today that have the bran mixed in, or even worse flours where they would actually mix the extra bran in, and they would make a very poor quality biscuit. And one of the reasons why those actually turn out to be poorer quality in the time period. Number one, it was less expensive for them to make that. But that bran brings oils in, and those oils make the biscuit go rancid faster and more attractive to weevils and bugs. And so these less expensive versions of ship's biscuits would go bad faster. The bugs would eat them up compared to the high quality ship's biscuits. So depends on what kind of ship's biscuit you want to make, what you're trying to replicate. If you're using it just for yourself, any one of these flours will do great. You could even do some out of each kind of flour and see how they lasted. That's a great experiment that we've done a little bit of that, and you could definitely see that the whole wheat flour ones did not last as long, and the bugs did like them better. A couple of quick announcements. I am speaking at the MOMCC conference here this weekend in Lafayette, Indiana. If you are part of the MOMCC and you're going to be there, make sure to stop by and say hi to us. We're working on some great projects. We want to talk to people at the conference, so make sure to come by and connect with us. Make sure to stay tuned as we continue to work on some new projects, and specifically Kevin's working very hard on the catalog right now, and it's going to be a big change in how we do the catalog. So there's some real exciting stuff coming right down the pike. Make sure to stay tuned on that. And really, I want to thank everyone. We get a flood of great comments to the channel, and they are so very encouraging, and all the great questions. Thank you for those. I want to thank everyone out there for spending the time, investing the time with me as we study these ideas behind living history and history in general. Thank you so much for watching. If you're a new viewer and you haven't subscribed, press the subscribe button up here. That'll take you to a spot where you can subscribe. I want to thank everyone for watching.